Hello, all of you beautiful sovereign beings of light. Welcome to another episode of Teaching What Spirit Speaks Through Me. And today I'm being asked to talk about the dark agenda and what's playing out in the world right now. A lot of people are really afraid of what is presently happening and what's going to be coming. And one of the reasons I'm speaking about this now is that many of us have gotten the message in the last few weeks. And myself, this started about a month ago. The message that started coming in about a month ago is that this is going to be the last Halloween, or rather the last Halloween that is celebrated the way that it's presently celebrated as a celebration of the dark. So this is one of the darkest days on planet Earth. It is when all of the souls of darkness basically are set free and allowed to roam the earth and create havoc. And it's used for dark rituals and tremendous amount of suffering of animals and people. And it's all disguised as fun and playfulness. So a lot of people have no idea that they're actually supporting a very, very dark agenda. And so what I was shown about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, was actually in my car and driving home from a road trip, and I asked my team to come in and hang out with me on my drive home. And so what they were telling me is that this is going to be the last Halloween, at least the last Halloween celebrated the way that it has been celebrated, and that future Halloweens will more than likely be what's more of a remembrance day, and that is remembering friends and family members, loved ones that have been lost. Um, it could be ancestors, could be something more like Dia de los Muertos, where it's a celebration of life, it's a celebration of loved ones, and there's food and candy, and it's a beautiful celebration. And there are a lot of costumes that are involved in parades, and it's really a family event. It's a very loving event, which I didn't know until a few years ago. So my understanding is that Halloween will no longer be celebrated in its present way, which is very dark, very satanic, and will be replaced by a Remembrance Day, whatever that looks like. And so my understanding is that this Halloween, of course, today is Halloween, which is why I'm getting on here and talking about it, that this is the last dark Halloween. And so also what some of us started seeing a few weeks ago is this collapse. And we've known about this for a while. I started seeing a couple of years ago that the side of light had gone in and created implosions or implosive devices within the structures so that they come crumbling down and imploding all at once. So there isn't too much collateral damage. If you imagine a building being imploded, you understand that when a building comes down, it took sometimes 2 or 3 years to put all the explosives in exactly the right places and to prep a building for implosion. So for all of you people that have been out there wondering when this is going to all come down and why it's taking so long, understand that putting the implosives in exactly the right places takes a great deal of timing and planning. And that is now what we are going to start seeing. My understanding is that it's interesting. What's coming in right now is that implosion is imminent. Another question that people have asked me, sorry, I have a piece of hair in my eye. Another question people have asked me is, why is what's happening on the earth field being allowed to play out? Why are people still being allowed to get these? Why is the dark side still in control of everything? And one of the things I've been shown very clearly is that they're still allowed the illusion of being in control so that they lay their plans out on the table and everybody can see what their plans are. I mean, they're coming right out and saying, if you've been paying attention, Whole Foods now has a hand swipe where they just scan your hand instead of you having to use your credit card. They're talking about digital IDs. They're talking about digital currencies to replace that piece of hair is still in my face to an eyelash. Uh, and what their plans, they're putting all their plans out on the table specifically for us to see. That's the reason they're still allowed to do what it is they're doing. So what I've been shown is that now, where we are right now, we are in between all the celestial alignments right now, and the two eclipses that are taking place right now, all of this is coming to a crux where we're going to start seeing the final play played out in this game. So one of the things I've been shown over the last couple of years, like Spirit always shows me different metaphors to make it easy for people to understand. So one of the metaphors I get shown fairly often is football game. So we're in the final overtime, the final play of the final overtime of a football game. And what I was shown yesterday is the side of dark is basically they're going for a Hail Mary. It's like that last pass, final pass, and it's going to be intercepted by the side of light. Game over. So there's that. I actually had to Google what Hail Mary is because I had no idea what it meant. Well, what's really interesting is that Mother Mary came to me a couple of days ago and told me she's very present on the planet. So this doesn't surprise me that this Hail Mary, Mother Mary is happening, is helping to restore the divine feminine. Mother Earth is very much involved in this process right now. She actually is part of the Light Alliance. So everything that happens on Earth is in agreement with what she is now helping to create, because the planet herself is also in the ascension process. I think I mentioned this in another episode, that what's happening on planet Earth is unique, incredibly unique. This is why we have so many people watching, so many beings all across the universe watching what happens now, because a planet ascending at the same time as her beings is a very rare occasion. And so the entire universe is watching to see how we handle this. And this is why we have so much galactic support as well. So another thing I get shown is this chess game. So when I'm invited into the spiritual situation room, I'm shown what the earth playing field looks like. And one of the metaphors they use is a chess game. This is the checkmate. It's already known. Team Dark knows that there's already a checkmate. All they're doing now is moving their pawns around the game board until there are no plays left. And my understanding is there is only one play left, and they're getting ready to play it right now. It is going to be very unpleasant for humanity because it's no holds barred, everything out in the open. Final play, and then the board game gets wiped clean. So the other metaphor I was given, and I did a show on this a while back, is it's a card game. It's a poker game, and that the side of light has an ace up its sleeve. All the other players know that they're going to lose. They don't know what card the side of light has, but they know they all have losing hands. And so they're putting all their hands out on the table, putting everything out. They're folding. And when they do, there's going to be, and what I was actually shown is there's going to be a game of dog pile. They're all going to start piling on top of each other and trying to one-up each other, and they're going to take each other out as a result of whatever this ace card is the side of light has. So I asked Source, God, Creator, what this surprise is, because my team will not tell me what the surprise event is. They just call it Event Horizon. And it does have something to do with this divine flash, but it's more than that. It's the flash of light, the wave of love. And so when I asked, I said, can you give me anything else? And what came in was the day the earth stood still. So this might also involve some kind of time collapse or a time stop. So 2020, the virus, what I was shown back then was that it was like pushing a pause button. It was intended to be paused for every person and every system and everyone to just take a time out. And really, that's what it was. Unfortunately, some of the systems kept going because they were also supposed to go into timeout, but there was a timeout for humanity. And as that timeout, it allowed many, many, many more people to wake up. This is what happens. The dark side does something, it backfires on them, and the light uses it on behalf of humanity. That was the case with 2020. So when I asked about this again, what I was told is that time will stand still, not just a pause button, but a complete stop of time. During that time stop, that's when the side of light will go in and do the cleanup before time starts back up again. And it's interesting because if time stands still, no one's going to know what happened. It will just stop, It could take days, weeks, months in our concept of time before it starts back up again, but no one will know it even happened. So that's what my team is saying, that no matter what play the dark side makes, the light already has their plan in place. The dark always uses the term agenda. The light always uses the term plan. So whenever you hear the word agenda, just recognize that that's the dark side doing what it's doing. And God uses the word plan. And that order is also something the dark side uses, and flow is something the light side uses. This flow is more feminine and agenda is more masculine. So all of our patriarchal systems are going to be collapsing and going to be replaced with more balanced services. So I was shown that systems are going to be replaced by services. So in places where you might see, so here's an example. A lot of people are asking, when are there going to be the EBS? Well, my team told me that EBS doesn't mean emergency broadcast system. EBS stands for Earth Broadcasting Service. And whatever this is, it's going to be broadcast across the planet all at the same time, all at once. And this is both with the dark side agenda as well as the light side plan. So what does this dark side agenda look like? Well, ultimately their goal, they're always very goal oriented. Their goal is totalitarianism. The way that they've seen to arrive at this totalitarianism, which is part of their 2030 agenda, again, look for the word agenda. There was a 21 agenda and there's a 2030 agenda. This agenda is totalitarianism. And the way to establish this totalitarianism, they've been working on it for a very long time, breaking down the constructs, breaking down the family, breaking down the units, breaking down how our medical system works. It's like, so they've been slowly putting plans in our systems to break them down so they can reconstruct them. The agenda now is about collapsing all of their own systems. So every system that we have on Earth was created in a fear-based reality by those who wish to control us. So they are intentionally imploding all of their systems so they can come in with their rescue plan, their rescue agenda. And this rescue, what this looks like is, as some of us have known, they put it right out there and for us to see, that we will own nothing and be happy. Well, what that really means is that they will own everything and control everything, and everyone else will be equal. That's the agenda. It is to, and so, for example, one of their responses to the collapsed economy is they will come in with a rescue. That is, we, the government, will buy out your house. You will have no mortgage payments. You get to live there for free. You have a life estate. And all you do is give us the title to your house, which means, and a lot of people might think that's a fabulous idea, but what it means is then the government owns and controls your house. And if you do anything the government doesn't like, they can kick you out of your house. So be really careful when you see some of these come out. It might look really fabulous up front, but it's really about total control and zero freedom. The illusion of freedom. Like right now we have the illusion of democracy, and that illusion of democracy is that the dark side has their two favorite players, and that's not really matter to them which one you vote for, because either way you get their family, which is why Mr. T upset the plan so much. He was like a cancer in their agenda, and they can't get rid of him because he wasn't part of the family agenda. And what I mean by family is that pretty much every leader on the planet, this is a family. It's been handed down generation upon generation upon generation upon generation for thousands of years. So they keep it all in the family. They only intermarry. That's why some of them are so incredibly unattractive. So anyway, there's that. So the dark agenda has its own design that is based in totalitarianism for the absolute control of all life on Earth. Now, the side of light also has a plan. And so what's going to happen is, as the dark side plays out its agenda and collapses all of its systems, the side of light comes in with its plan, which is about the freedom and prosperity of all life on earth. No strings attached. Well, the only string attached is that if you are not loving, then you will be not stripped of your assets. But what I've been shown many times is we have these pyramidal systems, right? And there's only one or two people at the top that control everything underneath. Well, the financial tables were turned. Yeshua actually showed me this back in 2012, that these tables are turned, so there's only a few at the bottom, and the masses are the ones that have all the prosperity. So those who do not resonate at the highest vibrations of love will be those few at the bottom that will have everything taken from them. And there's just a few. Of course, the darkest ones are going to be removed from the planet. I think that's what's going to happen during this time stamp. That a lot of those people are stamped out of the human experience. Whatever that looks like, if they're arrested, if they're removed, if they're dissipated, if they're evaporated, doesn't really matter. It's just they're going to be disinvited from the earth game because, as I've spoken about before, there was a time many thousands of years ago when the collective of souls of humanity agreed for this to be a learning planet, and we agreed to learn through the contrast. And that's when fear came to the planet, and it was intended to be a level playing field, but fear, as it does, is very deceptive. It disguises itself as love. It disguises itself as something that's fantastic. It disguises itself as religion. It disguises itself as governments. Fear is the master of disguise, or the master of disguise uses fear to disguise itself. So it's really difficult for anyone who isn't really, really discerning to recognize the difference between fear and fear disguised as love. Control disguised as security, that sort of thing. So you start to look and starting getting really, really good at seeing, is this real or is this deception disguised as something? So it's really important you start to use that discernment. But what I was shown about a year ago, actually I was shown this about 12 years ago, one of the very first messages that came in when I realized I had this ability to telepathically communicate with the divine, is that planet Earth is a learning planet until the collective of souls agree for it to be a planet of peace. So what's happened in the last year or so is that the collective of souls voted and have decided that this is now a planet of peace. This is a majority vote. So 2/3 of the souls of Earth voted and agreed for this to now be a planet of peace and prosperity. It's returning to the garden, and that the learning through the contrast is now complete. This is why the side of dark is now playing their last move of the game, because it's game over for them. They're no longer going to be invited to play on the playing field. And it will be restored back to a level playing field. That's going to be part of the, however long that level playing field lasts. And then eventually will be a planet of just pure love and pure light. And that this, the contrast will not exist at all. But for right now, we're moving through this transition phase. And in this transition phase, it's a level playing field. That we're not quite there yet. And that's where we're heading. So as the darkest of these beings are removed from the planet, we have a level playing field. The money is equally dispersed. Everyone has the opportunity to move up that spiritual spiral out of, because 3D ceases to exist. It's already flatlined energetically. It just still presently exists on the planet. It's going to be removed from the planet. So then we only have 4D to navigate through, and then more and more people moving up into this beautiful bliss of pure, absolute divine love that is 5D. That's where the magic and the miracles happen. And then we'll be able to create more freely with the 6th dimension of consciousness, which is where the field of creation exists before it drops down into physical reality. So the dark agenda, again, is totalitarianism. The side of light plan is humanitarianism. This is why you've probably been seeing a lot of things lately about what is your humanitarian project? If you had all the money in the world, how would you be of service with it? This is all about service to the whole rather than service to self. This old reality, totalitarian reality, is all about service to self. Really what it is about self-preservation. So as fear leaves a planet, there's no longer a need for self-preservation because we understand all is well and that everything occurs within this beautiful divine timing. So that's what we're moving into. And so it's really important to understand these two differences. So over the next couple of weeks, there is a strong possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to be because my team does not give me dates. I get packets of information so I can see a bit of what's happening, but they don't give me dates. And the reason I'm not given dates is because it's nearly impossible to create specifics on a linear timeline because we human beings, our own resonance is what causes time to speed up or slow down. And how long this process takes has a lot to do with whether we're focusing on the love and the creation of this new world, and that becomes the focus, or if we're focusing on the problems, because the more we focus on the problems, and I've said this so many times before, the more we focus on the problems, the longer the problems will exist. The more we focus on the world that wants to be created through us, the sooner that will be created. So it's next to impossible to pinpoint anything on a human planet calendar. However, there is something that feels like it's coming. It feels like we're finally at that final gameplay. And so many other people have been getting that same message. So it is possible that we are going to start seeing the implosion of the old system within the next couple of weeks. The dark side had something very, very dark planned for Halloween. I do think that's been intercepted. It was actually shown that the interception of the ball being thrown yesterday when I tuned in. So I think it's not going to be as dark and painful as the dark side had planned. They showed us a sample of this at this event that happened in Korea a couple of days ago where people freaked out, and there were over 150 young people who had heart attacks, basically. And that was kind of a test of what it would look like if they did this on a global scale. My understanding is that's not going to be allowed, but there's something that's coming that the dark side is not prepared for. For starters, they can't do anything to stop. If it's a stopwatch that gets stopped, there's nothing they can do to stop that. There's nothing they can do to stop a wave of light from coming in, what's being called the solar flash, the divine flash. There's nothing they can do to stop that. All they can do is scramble and try to make it as dark as possible before that comes, to take as many souls with them as possible. And those 2/3 of souls who have decided for this to now be a planet of peace rather than a learning planet, those are the ones that are going to be staying here physically and continuing out this process. Now, the important thing is, I'm going to answer a couple of questions that people have asked me regarding this just really quick so you can get an idea of what I'm seeing. So one of the questions was, so what I was seeing is that as this process occurs, it's going to look completely normal for those who don't know what to look for. So, and I was actually shown this 10 years ago, that as this transition started to happen, it would look like business as usual, which is why so few people recognize it. It's only those of us who are hyper awake and hyper aware that understand this isn't business as usual, but it looks that way. And this, whatever is happening over the next couple of weeks and into the next couple of years, is going to seem normal. It's going to look like business as usual, but the playing field will have changed entirely. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I just know that that these dark beings, these dark entities, these dark programs, their agendas are going to start being pulled from the playing fields, and that the landscape of Earth is going to look very different. So one of the things that I wanted to share with people is this landscape of Earth changing is prophesied in every single belief system. Now, I was raised with the belief that the Earth would be turned to glass. There would be a firestorm that would turn the Earth to glass crystal, and that we would all become beings of light. And that only those beings of light would be allowed to live here, that's kind of a Mormon thing. I don't know if other religions believe that, but what's really interesting is that that this message that's been coming in for a lot of light workers lately about the planet becoming crystalline and the beings becoming crystalline does match up with that particular prophecy. And we are in that firestorm. That's the backside of the storm I talk about. 2020 was the front side of the storm. We've been in the eye of the storm, which is a little bit more calm. Now we're going to get hit with the backside of the storm, and it's going to make 2020 look easy. Just heads up about that. It is going to be very difficult for people who don't understand that this is for our collective good. I talked a little bit about how Korea was a sampling of what the dark agenda had planned. Someone else was asking me what they can do to help their family prepare for all of this. The time of us trying to wake up our friends and family is over. That ended about a year ago. Because now they're so, not that none of them will wake up, because some people are still slowly waking up here and there, but there isn't really anything we can do to make our family and friends wake up. The only way they're going to finish waking up is if it's in their face, which means on the television or right there in their hands, in their social media. So the television and social media will be taken over by the side of light, and they will start to see everything. We don't have to do that. So someone was asking me, how do they tell their friends and family to prepare for these events that are coming? And really what all we can do is hold them in love and compassion and be there for them when the rest of this starts to unfold, and also understand the side of light already has it all planned out. There are going to be food banks. There are going to be everything we need is going to be made available to us. So there's nobody's going to starve to death. There's no reason for people to go into panic. The only people who need to actually worry are those people that might try to take advantage of it and go out rioting and looting, and there will be no tolerance for that. If you're caught rioting and looting, you will be arrested, because Team Light is not going to tolerate that. So if you're someone who's loving and you stay at home and you mind your own business a sense, and you be the loving being that you are and hold space for your family and friends, you'll be fine. The only people who have to worry are those people who don't have loving hearts. They will start to expose themselves. And someone else was asking me if the backside of the storm has to do with the collapse of society. And yes, I was saying this is about the collapse of all of the systems. All these patriarchal systems were built in fear. They are going to be replaced by balanced services that are going to be heart-based, which does happen to be more feminine. This isn't about replacing patriarchy with matriarchy. Humanity has already experienced that. This is about bringing that pendulum back to balance, where all of our systems will be replaced with services that serve the highest and greatest good. Anyone who holds a position of leadership over anyone else, it will be service-based leadership. Those will not be paid positions. Politics, as you know them, will cease to exist, because those are all based in fear and corruption and control. So all those systems are going to come collapsing down. We might even see our schools closing. All of that. This is a full restructure of society. And in order to fully restructure society, there will be a collapse of society as we know it. And so it's really important that you understand not to go into fear about it. This is all part of the divine plan. The dark side is going to be allowed to collapse all of their own structures, and in so doing, showing the dirt, showing the blood on their hands. And then the side of light will come in with its humanitarian overseeing it to make sure that Earth becomes this beautiful place of peace in service to the whole, not just in service to the few. So I hope that helps. If it does start to get very dark and scary over the next few weeks, the next couple of months, remember, the darkness always works for the light. It doesn't think that it does. It thinks it's in service to itself. The collapsing it is creating of itself exists so that we can reframe and restructure and recreate Earth with love as the basis and the foundation of all of it. Now, before I forget, I did just finish my next book. I was calling it Metatron's Cube. I renamed it Recreating Earth. I just finished the final editing of it, sending it off to the editor again. And I might just do a quick publish of it so that it gets into people's hands and it doesn't take a year and a half for a publisher to do it. I might just decide to publish it myself. So that it's complete. All that's left is redesigning a couple of the designs in there because I was told to give people a visual of how to recreate their systems because some people just don't have that ability to envision. So this book is showing you a little bit of what has been playing out on the field, is showing you what the 2030 plan is as a response to the 2030 agenda, is showing you what each of the systems will be restructured to look like as services. And then there's also a chapter dedicated just to what you can do, whichever one of those systems you want to be a part of helping to restructure. There's some ideas of what you can do. And then there's also a chapter that's dedicated to resources. And I'm also creating a website where you can go and those resources will continually be upgraded as I'm given access to more and more of those. So you have a constant place to go to find out what you want to be a part of and how you can be a part of recreating Earth. I hope that helps you understand what's playing on the Earth field right now and to not allow yourself to go into fear as you start to see the systems collapse, because this is part of the divine plan. And that Earth is being recreated. And all those who are choosing to not be loving will be disinvited from the game. I don't see that there's going to be bodies all over the street. It's not going to be a zombie apocalypse. It's going to be much more subtle and more silent than that so that the hearts of humanity aren't devastated. There will be some broken hearts for sure, because most awakening experiences do involve a death of some kind, whether it's the death of a family member, a loved one, a business, a dream. And we may be experiencing what has been referred to by a few other people as a near-death experience for Earth. And understand that this is really about the end of the old reality and the rebirth of what is possible, as everyone is awakened up and everyone is given conscious choice of which reality they want to participate in, the totalitarian reality or the humanitarian reality. Everyone will be given conscious choice, not the manipulated choice they've had in the past and the coerced choice we've been living through. From conscious choice, we can then work together and consciously create a new reality. So that's my message for today. I hope you find that helpful. Do remember to stay in the loving no matter what. No matter what. No matter how dark it gets and how scary it may appear, stay in love. Divine love has us. It is the energy that is and creates all things. When we stay in that love, it will hold us in the place of peace within, and then we can recreate our world from that. As always, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together we are creating a world of peace, love, harmony, prosperity, freedom for all life on Earth. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free.